Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we are comparing written feedback and verbal feedback, and we're trying to decide which one's better. How do you give feedback to the children? How should you do it? And as always, I'm looking for your views on this. I'm going to give my views and tell you what I think is best. But as always, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So do comment down below. How does your school give feedback to the children once they've done some work in their books? Does it change from lesson to lesson? Does it change from year group to year group? And just as much information as you could, because as always, I'm looking to learn just as much as I'm looking to offer advice from what I have done in my 4 years experience now as being a primary school teacher. First of all, when we look at different types of feedback, by written feedback, I mean when a child has done their work and they've finished the work, and then the teacher will sit and write in the book, and you'll go through and tick all the work. You might put a dot or a cross next to the ones that are wrong, and then you'll write at the bottom a comment about how they've done. You might have to put a stamp in. Each school has a different policy for how you're meant to do it, but by written feedback, I mean it's generally done when the children aren't there and you're writing in the book, and then the next lesson the children will come and have a bit of time to sit and read your feedback. They might take action on that feedback, and then they'll move on with the next day's learning. And then we compare that to verbal feedback, which I'm talking about when you physically talk to the children while they're doing the work and see how they're doing halfway through the lesson maybe, or a few minutes in, and again near the end. So first of all, written feedback. Like we said, written feedback, first of all, it can take a long time. If you're sat after a lesson, if you think about after school, you've got maybe 4 or 5 lessons. Each lesson you've had 30 children. That's a lot of books to go through, and if you've got to write a comment in every single page, that can take you a really, really long time. And when you think about those, you might spend 2 hours going through all those books. Is that the best use of your 2 hours? I personally am not sure it is. And I think you can see straight away which side I'm leaning on. I'm not sure that is the best use of any teacher's time straight after school, sat for 2 hours writing a little comment on each page in a child's book for 200 books. It just sounds crazy to me. So first of all, I think written feedback in that sense, if you're just doing it and you're doing it after school, maybe that's not the best use of your time. And also, when you actually then give the children the books back and they say, okay, go have a look at the feedback, do they actually either A, have the time to read the feedback and action in it when you're meant to be moving on to the next lesson because of how curriculum is so busy and it's so packed full? If they do have the time, do they use the time wisely and actually go back through it and check it? And do they then take action on it, and does it improve anything if it's just one small comment? Can that fix a whole misconception? If a child's got a whole page of questions wrong in a maths lesson because they've, in bus-stop division, if they've not carried the number across to the next one if it doesn't fit, if they've not done that, can you fix that with one small comment and then show them how to do it all just with that? I'm not sure you can. I'm not sure one comment in a book will fix that. So straight away, I think written feedback has its place, but if it's just done on its own, independent of the children, and then it's just given back to them, I'm not sure that is the way forward. When we look at then comparing it to verbal feedback is really quick because while the children are working, you can look at their work and spot when something's gone wrong and say, oh wait, actually you've not done that quite right, can we fix that bit, change that, and then they get on with it. So straight away you can see what they're doing and impact the lesson halfway through, and it means they're not continuing on with that misconception, they're not continuing on with making the changes that aren't correct. Also, not only is it quick and easy for one child, but that makes it quick and easy for all the children. You can go around and give verbal feedback to every single child in every single lesson, and that is impacting all of their learning at the time. It's relevant to what they're doing, they can hear what you're saying and take action on it straight away. While you're talking to one child, another child might hear what you're saying, and you might help them inadvertently by helping another child because they'll hear, go, oh, I've made that mistake too, okay, I'll fix that. So straight away your words are being used by more than one person. You can stop a lesson and talk to the entire children and give them all feedback. If there's one particular question that's really tricky halfway through, like it's question 6, then you can wait till you see a few people have started question 6 and say, right guys, everybody stop, we're all going to have a look at this question together, and give them feedback on that question in the lesson right there and there, and it'll just prevent all those misconceptions from building up. It also is really good for children's confidence. When you open up your book and you see you've got a whole page of questions wrong, that does no one any good. But if a teacher comes around and spots you got one wrong and you're getting the second one wrong too, then straight away, okay, it's only a couple of questions, let's just fix that, go back, fix those questions and move on, get the rest right. Brilliant. That does great for someone's confidence. I know it'll do really good for me. However, the place where verbal feedback does fall down is if a child isn't quite listening to what you're saying, or they haven't quite understood. If you're just giving verbal feedback, you're just talking to them about it, then how do they know exactly what you mean? How can they not quite clearly see what it is you're doing? And that's where I think you can probably see where I'm going with this. I think the best answer is a mixture of both. The best answer is a mixture of verbal and written feedback. I think feedback should definitely be done during the lesson. I don't see the point in doing any kind of feedback after school because the children aren't there. They're not there to see what you're talking about. They're not there to hear what you're saying. There's just no point in doing it then. Feedback should be done during the lesson, and mostly through verbal feedback, mostly by actually talking to children about what they're doing and how they're doing it, but also by writing down. If you're talking about how to do a question, write down an example, show them what you mean, show them what you're talking about. That way way you're hitting all learners. You're hitting auditory learners, you're hitting kinesthetic learners, they need to move around a little bit in the lesson. You can talk and help the visual learners that can see what they're talking about. You can help all sorts of people by giving them feedback during the lesson, talking to them about what it is they're doing, how it is they should be doing things. Having that mixture of both, having some stuff up on the screen, having some stuff in the books that you've written on, having that kind of visual thing can help children, but also by talking to them individually about what they're doing at that time can really, really be a big benefit. So as always, it's a mixture. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. I think there's some bits that I wouldn't do myself. I think there's some bits that I definitely do enjoy doing. And I think, as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you do? I know one of the big things about feedback and about marking and about policies is that they can get really, really over the top. And I know there's some schools that you have to mark some things in a certain colour pen, other things with a certain type of stamp. You have to do different types of things, and actually, you know what, just in my view, strip it all back, take all the kind of different colours out of it, take all the different things out of it, and just say, look, what are the things that impact the children the most? What are the things that help the children the most? And when it boils down to it, the thing that helps a child the most is having an adult in the classroom, sat with them, working with them. Does that mean you writing a comment at the bottom of the page in a pink pen will actually impact their learning in any particular way? And you know what? If you're saying well done, then it might say, yeah, they might have a smile on their face. But you can say that to the face. You don't need to write it down. You can say well done at the end of a lesson. When you walk past and you see they've got a whole page of correct answers, you can say well done to them. You don't need to spend 30 seconds after school writing down in their book, well done. Because you know what? It might sound all right, 30 seconds, but 30 seconds times by 30 books adds up to a lot of time. That's already 15 minutes you spent on one lesson. You've got many other lessons to do the same thing on. So it's a balance, as always. Write some stuff down to show them what to do, but talk to them and make sure they understand what you're doing while you do it, while the children are in that lesson on that topic and they haven't kind of forgotten what it is. Because the other thing is, when the children come back the next day and they look at your comment, well, they'll have forgotten half of what they were doing the day before, because that's what happens with learning. That's why we revisit things, because you forget once you've done stuff. Okay, if you've written a comment saying, oh, can you just go back and fix step 2 and have a look at that one, well, they'll have forgotten what to do. So you need to give them that verbal feedback anyway. So you've wasted all your time going back and writing things because you have to talk to them about it anyway. So talk to them during the lesson while they're doing things. So there you go. Those are my views on verbal feedback and written feedback. And as you can see, I love verbal feedback. I think talking to the children and helping them and treating them like the learners that they are, and not that they're just robots that can just respond to instructions written on a page, is the best way of doing it. However, there's always a space to write some stuff down and to give them visual examples of what it is you're talking about and telling them to fit is always very important too. I would love to hear how your schools do it. I would love to hear if there's any suggestions you could give to me to help improve my feedback and the way I do it. And I'd love to hear about if there's anything that you think actually maybe isn't done quite so well at your school and that you'd love to take some advice on board and change things. So thank you very much for watching this, guys. And as always, there's a new video on a Tuesday, a Friday and a Sunday, and I will see you all very soon.